Devil's Workshop number 9. This is April 23rd. And I wanted to check in to just kind of give an overview of my general goal, which is to demonstrate how a cooperative economy, living in a cooperative economy fashion, would benefit everybody. And in order to demonstrate that, I wanted to have some basics like shelter and heat, because we all know how we can grow food off the grid. That's a solved problem. But most people feel like the rest of the things that you need in life need to be, you need to go to work and earn money to get. And I don't think that's the case, and I think that's actually part of the problem, that we're all trying to live under that paradigm. So as a part of trying to demonstrate how we can get out of that, I wanted to have a checkpoint, or like a pivot. I call them pivots in my life. Like, you want to check and make sure that you're on the right path. Is everything good? You know, do a bigger reassess than you would normally do. And my first pivot point with this was when I had heat and puberty. When I had heat, and it's like I got it started. I got the prototype, I guess you would call it, working. It's very basic. It's just brick, and this guy is like the things you would get from that's like in an oven. It's just a heating oven. It's like $50 from Amazon. Everything's from Amazon. So I would just turn that on and plug it in. It would draw 1,500 watts. That's a general large amount of energy. I would say 15 spotlights running at the same time. That's this, and it's also kind of what most heavy appliances pull. Heating coffee, my water heaters, everything's 1,500 watts. So you don't want to just leave it running, because if a bunch of clouds roll in, or rain, or maybe you turn something else on, or whatever happens, it's like then you'll drain your batteries. And so I found, it's like I used this for a week and it was great. So the idea is that you turn it on during the day and you get the brick really hot, and then overnight you can unplug it and just leave it in your room and it will radiate heat. And in the morning this doesn't work as well, but like you just have to add more bricks and make it hotter. So I didn't do that yet, but like just for the first test, that's what I got out of it. And it works great, but in order to really make it work, I have to run around and monitor everything. And so it's just like I found myself babysitting electrons. It's like, is this battery charged? Is this good? You know, and that's obviously not going to work. So the solution to that, and was always kind of the idea, was I was going to have an application run or manage the electricity. So it's like you could see that's like reading the voltage there. And I would have, so that's here in the garage. So I have cameras and whatnot set up, and it will read the voltage from this stuff. And then based on how much energy is pulling in from the sun and the target amount of voltage I want for that day, whatever else and what I have prioritized, it will generate a surplus of heat. And it's also, I found that it doesn't, you could turn this thing on and, you know, like run 1,500 watts for an hour and it will get so hot, but you could turn it on and off for 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off, and it generates the same amount of heat. So it's like I guess the way you would describe it is, if you were sprinting on a bike or an exercise bike and you just pedal, 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 it's like you can go full bore and the pedals will only go so fast. But you could sprint, 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 and then let it go for a little bit, and then sprint, 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 and let it go for a little bit, and the pedals will basically go the same amount. You'll get the same amount of rotations. So it's a similar concept here with the heating up the bricks, and that's not something that you want to manage, like turn it on, turn it off. It's like that doesn't even make any sense. So I'm going to have, so the idea is to have this app manage everything such that, you know, it's like almost like a regular house where you could have a thermostat, except this will be the world's biggest, clunkiest central heating system ever. But the difference is that I don't need a job to have it work. And this one scales up. So if I want to heat more, I can just add more panels, buy more bricks, and those things are cheap nowadays. So it's like everyone in your lives, like it's like we all measure this, our security and how much stuff we get by money, because money right now is what gives us access to all of this. But if you don't need money to have access to heat, and you don't need money to have access to food, so if you started growing your own food in a sustainable fashion and cooperating with your neighbors and whatnot, like that's a solved problem. You know, we used to have victory gardens, in the 50s or something like that. So that can be done again. That's easy. I mean, it's easy in theory. Hard for people, like if you live in an apartment or something, it's like, what are you gonna do? Like it's convenient when you look at, like if you were gonna buy a house, like when I was looking for this place, it's odd how many places it's like it's not possible to do what I'm doing, like just to put up solar panels and whatnot, because there are all the south-facing yards conveniently have someone else's fence there, so it's all, the south-facing yard is what gives you the most sun. And so all of a sudden, gee, you look around, if you want a place where you're going to put up a lot of panels, it's difficult to get. So it's like you always have to have a spot on the side of a mountain. And even then, you probably have to have a permit and all this shit. So it's like it's easy in theory to collect energy from the sun, but the world has made it difficult, and that's kind of the point. So if you aren't worried about staying warm in the winter, and obviously it's different here in San Diego than it will be elsewhere where it's cold, but the theory is the same. If you collect enough energy during the day or during the year to keep yourself warm without capitalism, then you don't need that capitalism to do all the things that energy provides. And heat would be one of them, and clean water would be another. You can use energy to distill water or filter water, and all of a sudden you have clean water. And I think that the American government and the state governments and the city governments have shown that clean water is not really a priority for them. So I think becoming self-sufficient and independent with energy and the things that you need to live should be kind of a big goal now. Like I see the Mueller report come out and 82 million people running for office. I'm just like, God knows where all that madness is headed, but it doesn't seem like clean water, healthy food, and freedom are in your future if you put your future into the hands of those people. So basically, the next steps are to get this app working and controlling things in the external world, to put it in geeky terms, such that when I do add more panels, that extra energy can be put to good use. So I could have maybe 3 or 4 of these heaters running, and I don't have to run around turning them on and off. And you could even have like an heated outdoor patio area for free, and it would always be heated whether or not you needed it or not, because why not heat it? It's like the electricity is free. And that kind of highlights the difference between like capitalism, where everyone's chasing money, and money is one of those things that you always kind of hold on to. Like you don't want to waste it. You don't know that you might need it for something in the future. Like with this, it's like everything, you might as well use the energy. Otherwise it's gonna go to waste. Like I have this fan blowing just for the heck of it, and you would never do that if you were living on the grid, because it's costing you money. But here, it's like I'm not even using the energy that I'm pulling in yet. So that when your goal becomes the service, then you start having things in abundance like this electricity, as opposed to capitalism, where if everything you want to get, you need money, then money's going to become that central focus of your life, and you're going to constantly chase money in order to get the things you want. So the problem with that equation is then whoever is controlling the money supply, unless they are completely open and honest about what they're doing, we'll probably have a little too much control and influence over our lives.